So, welcome everybody to the Pro Life Teen Podcast. I'm John Merworth from Thrive Point Consulting. Today we have Mike Yawler with us from A Woman's Concern and Jacob, of course, Jacob Barr. Hi, guys.
Hello, John.
Hey, Mike. So, the reason why we wanted to talk to you today is because you got something really important going on at A Woman's Concern, and that's your fatherhood program. I have been around the country over the past almost decade working in the pregnancy center field, and your program, your fatherhood program, is one of the best programs that I've seen in the entire country. So we wanted to talk to you about that. And so you developed something that is really special. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what you did out there in A Woman's Concern and the name of your program?
Yeah, so we have a program. It's called Courageous Dads, and an online social media platform called Courage Starts Here. And so this whole idea of courage and courageous, we find that for our center, we serve any of the ladies that come in, whether they're married and choosing to have the baby, or if they are just not sure. It does not matter. We serve them all. We market heavily to the abortion minded, abortion determined girl to be able to walk with her and to allow her to see that she has choices. And so, with that, we find, and many do, that the first person that she will share this information with is her boyfriend, the guy. And yet, I've been here for over 5 years now, and also have been traveling and learning as much as I can. And I find that not all pregnancy centers are willing to bring him in. They're not sure if they want to bring him in. And so, what I shared right away is that I have found before I even came here is that when a guy finds out that his girlfriend's pregnant, he already has thoughts and opinions. He already has them. And if she only comes in by herself, when she leaves and goes back to talking to him, he still has those opinions and he could change everything. And so we are very purposely saying we need to at least bring him in to allow him to hear and see the same things that she's hearing. And so that was a
Mike,
big thing for us.
why do you think so many pregnancy centers struggle with the fatherhood?
One, I just believe that they know he matters, but they are set up and it's been passed down to take care of her. And so change in itself causes issues. We just keep doing the same thing and try to do it better. And rather than sitting down and saying, if the guy's important, if he matters, then how do we handle that? And so, like, a lot of it is just stopping and walking through that. Because if what we're doing is not broken, why fix it? And so, for those who decide and recognize that, if you are, and these numbers are different depending on what center you go to, as far as what are you determining as abortion minded, abortion determined. But we focus heavily on marketing to that group. And when they come in, we have a hard, fine line that if they're, oh, we're excited, they're, we're excited to have the baby. We're excited. Those are great, but we really want to make sure that we're making a difference. And so we market heavily to them. And when they come in and they're abortion minded, abortion determined, we recognize again that the guy is important. So for the centers that are truly focusing on reaching the lost, the confused, the hurting, the men have to be a part of the story. And that's what we found, is that he is
Well,
actually a part of the story.
one of the things you said, that you invest heavily in trying to reach that abortion minded woman. You also invest heavily in your program for your dads. And I don't think a lot of pregnancy centers have realized the value of that investment quite yet. So what made your center want to invest in that fatherhood program? You must have seen something that you made this decision that you're going to invest in it by bringing you on and giving you a bigger role. So
Yeah, so I would say that it did start before I was here. And I got word that they were looking for this position. I bring a pastoral background, coached wrestling for 18 years. And so I've been working with men, particularly young men, teenage boys, and walking them through their issues and problems through mentor programs and through wrestling already as a coach. And so the center itself was saying already before I got here that we'd like to do more with the guy if he comes. And it started with that, like, if he comes, all the marketing was to her. But if he comes and he's sitting in the waiting room, what will we do with him? And so before I even got here, they were at least bringing him back for the ultrasound if she was okay with that. They even put a video together that would talk to him about choices and such, that they would take him to a room. They already saw that, man, we got to do something. When they're bringing the guy, we just feel like we're missing the boat here. And so they were already in advance putting things together. And then when I was introduced to them a little bit more about what they're looking to do, I wasn't quite sure what that looked like at all. It was a different playing field than what I was used to. And so I came on board and really just learned and listened and was taught heavily language, what language to use. And so I was able to use what God had already ordained me through all my past experiences. I did prison release ministry, I did homelessness ministry. There was a lot that God already put together before I came here. And so when they were saying we're not sure what we want, but we want to start providing for the guy because we think it's important, that was prior to me being here. And
Well,
then
one of the thing, Mike, one of the things that I noticed about your center is, and I don't even know if you realize this or not, but you have a lot, many more men actually come to your center than most other centers that I've seen. So why is that? How do the men find you?
So how do they find us? Yeah, that's a big thing. Last year we're one building, one center, and last year we had over 1,200 visits from men, and so they are finding us. We have now in the last year we had a landing page for men, and it's so important. I mean, it's just so important that they find themselves on that landing page. That
What do you mean?
they see it and they say, "Oh, okay, I'm important." They at least have something for me. Our name is a woman's concern, and so some men do come because they didn't see our landing page. They might not have saw our Instagram post. They came because she asked him to come along. They come in sort of with an attitude, like a defensiveness, like, "I'm not even sure why I'm here. She just told me to come." And then when they see me, honestly, John, and this is so important, and I don't have my finger on it, but when I walk through the waiting room door and they see me, a guy, their attitude changes dramatically. They start to then see themselves here. So if we can reach them on our landing pages or our social media where they realize I'm a part of the story too. I'm just not a side piece. I'm a part of the story. Now they want to come. They want to come. They'll start off, you know, I'm here for her, but when I bring them back to the room, everything changes.
Before we get into that, I wanted to ask you about a time when, so this is very interesting, Jacob, too, is that at a woman's concern, they have the men. Sometimes men find the pregnancy center and the men suggest to their girlfriends or their partner that they come to the pregnancy center. Can you tell us about one of those times where that happened, where it was actually a man who initiated the appointment?
Yeah, it's so just recently, and maybe even just yesterday, they came in and I was meeting with him and he was standoffish. And I mean it's any of us until we can trust someone we're close to the vest, so to speak. And he was just quiet. And I said, well, my question was like, how did you guys find us? And he said, I was looking and I looked up pregnancy, Lancaster, and your sites came up. I saw that you had guys programs. I saw that there was a men's program, and she was scared. She knew she was pregnant. She was scared to address the issue, but she told him. He waited a week and there was no movement, and so he started to look himself. So we have a landing page, and we also created Courage Starts Here, which is a Instagram and Facebook connection pages also that is 100% specific to men, to them, and it talks their language, it talks to them specifically. That's one of the big things is that when these guys come, he has his own fears, he has his own questions, he has his own needs. The moment that we start seeing him as someone worth investing in, everything changes. He sees that on our landing page before he even comes in. And so he's somewhat excited that he's important. And so if he doesn't find us and she brings him, initially, that initial contact with him changes everything.
How do you help a father who's coming in and he's sort of feeling scared or overwhelmed? Men don't usually like to show that, but there's a level of stress there. You know that there's some fear. And then, but how do you actually help them? Like, what are some of the things like? Why don't you walk us through what happens when a couple comes into the center?
Yeah. So if they come in, so let me just one step back. Is so we have the landing page, and we hope that he finds himself here. And for the high school kids, we actually will list the local high schools around our area, and it says if you're a student, and it lists their high school and that they can tap on, and it'll give them the directions to our center. What I mean by that, John, is when they see their high school listed, they're already saying, "Okay, I'm important. They know about me." And so even that is huge. So we try to reach them with our marketing, and then we invite him in. And let me go with this. Our center, when I first started, when someone would call in or they would text in and they were looking for an appointment, their one of their first questions was, "What day works for you?" And she would share her date, the days that work, Tuesdays, but Mondays, whatever, and they would say, "Well, let's schedule you an appointment." And then the after question would be, would the father of the baby, the potential father of the baby, be willing to come in? And she would say, "Well, no, he works that day." And then they
Mm.
would move on. They would move on. And we have flipped that now, that we recognize that when the man comes in and they are abortion minded, when the man comes in, the chances of them choosing life goes up dramatically. 70 Our numbers go up, close to 80% of them are choosing life, even when they come in abortion minded, if the man comes in, because he gets talked to, he gets coached, he gets loved on. And so they'll say, "We would love to schedule an appointment with you. Would the potential father of the baby be able to come in for your appointment as well?" And she would say, "Well, yeah, he can, if he can get off work, he would love to come." And they'll say, "Well,
That's
what
a
day of the week? What works for him?" And then
that's a
that's the day they
fantastic
schedule.
that's a fantastic switch in your script.
It's
Yeah, I
changed.
I applaud you for that.
The number of men coming in have just increased because now they're important. She's in her own heart. She's saying, "Oh wow, hey, they care about you. What day works for you?" And then his chest gets puffed because he's somebody. And so that's our first thing before he even comes in. Now the ones that so he knows that coming in, but if they come in, he comes in with her, getting back to the appointment. They will put little notes on the appointment like FOB, father of the baby will be coming in, or father of the baby works, or it'll let me know whether he's coming in or not. Any kind of details they give me. But once they're here and he's in the waiting room, he'll fill out an intake as well. Very brief: name, address, phone number. But the one question on the front of that intake is if the mother, if the mother of the baby, I forget how it's worded, but if she is pregnant, if the pregnancy test is positive, maybe that's what it says. If the pregnancy test is positive, what choice would you hope that she makes, or something to that degree? And it's just a box that they check. But that's big for me because it lets me know before I even bring him back where he's leaning. If they're already parenting, allows me to know that. So he's in the waiting room, he fills it out, she fills her out. The secretary or staff comes out, offers them a drink, coffee, water. "How are we doing? Everything good?" "Sure." "Everything's great." Our advocate comes out, meets with them both, talks to both of them, not just her, but says to him, "Hey, Mike will be out shortly to bring you back. We're glad you're here." And then he knows that. She takes the female back. We always take the female back. And this is important information as I am promoting bringing the men in. But she drives the show. The woman is still in charge. She still decides whether he comes back or not. She still decides whether he's in the ultrasound room or not. We bring her back because we want to see that she's safe. We want to make sure that this, in fact, is her partner and not sex trafficking for that matter. Like we want to know so once we clear that and we're good, then I'm able to go out and bring him back. And so then I'll bring him back and I bring him back and to the office and just start. This is where it gets good is that he's still like, keeping me a little bit at a distance. Within the first 10 minutes, I just ask about him. So how's your day? Did you get off work for today? And we start talking. So what do you do? Oh, I do this. And how long you been doing that? And I start just caring about him, you know? Uh, so how long have you guys been together? Wow, that's great. 4 months or 2 years. Like marriages don't always last that long. You guys, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for coming in. And soon as they hear I'm proud of you, now they relax. And some of them will say, that's the first time I believe I've ever heard that in my life. That's the first time that someone actually cared about me.
Mm.
And they'll say it flat out, and they say, "I really appreciate that." There's never been a time where I'll say, "I'm proud of you," where they don't say, "I appreciate that." I'll say sometimes the women hear about it, they think they're the Uber driver. They come along, they sit in the car even. They'll wait in the car. "Hey, go do your thing, go get your test," And so when they come through our doors, that's special to me, and I want them to know that they just became courageous. They just became courageous in the sense that they didn't just wait in the car. We can all just sit in the boat and he got out of the boat. And so he's here and I let him know that. And so
So,
now, yeah.
Michael, I've heard you say this more than once, and I wanted to have you explain it. You often say when a man feels judged, he leaves.
Mm,
Man feels valued, he listens.
yeah. That's so good. That's I, I don't know that that was just here, but I think it was reciprocated here. When these men realize that they're important and they're valuable, they let down their guards. They start talking and they start sharing, and they're open to they're open to suggestions, information. They start to care about her feelings, what she would like to do. He starts to see the positives. He starts to not just, he still sees the negatives, but he starts to see the positives and he wants to come back. John, I kid you not. Some of these men, while we're leaving, so the ultrasound, when we're there, she's in the ultrasound room. Eventually the advocate comes back to get him if she's okay with him going back. And when the advocate comes and she'll knock on the door, I always ask them to hold her hand in the ultrasound. That coming along, driving here with her, she's feeling good about who you are. You came through the door. She's feeling great. She feels proud. I got a guy that actually cares about me. It looks good all around. And then when you go back to that ultrasound room and you hold her hand during the procedure, it just lets her know I'm not just talking about being here. I'm here for you. And we hear these women talk about that. Like they think I'm some like genius or something. They're like, what I don't know what he said in that room back there, but this has changed his life. And so what I wanted to say was when they're walking back,
Causes Well, before I get to that question, I wanna ask you, so very often in pregnancy centers, when a woman's considering abortion, we educate, right? So we talk about how far along you are, what your options are, what an abortion actually could look like, and her certainly. But you do that with the men as well, don't you?
absolutely. So just to finish that last point, when I'm leaving and the advocate comes for him, this is what I was going to get to. They'll say, like, they'll joke around. This is a pretty regularly. They'll be like, "Does this guy get paid? He should." That was some of the best conversation. That was the first time in my life someone cared about me. And so I'm not just telling you what I think. These men actually say it. That's the first time in my life I mattered. That's the first time in my life someone cared about me. Like, can I come back? Am I allowed to come back? Like this is like a big deal. And it was simply 15 minutes of me investing in them. And also, John, I'll ask, do you mind if I follow up with you with a text message, phone call? Absolutely, 100%. And then some of them puzzled. This happened more than once, puzzled. And then they'll say, well, let me give you my real number. That number I put
Yeah,
on that paper, really, that was just a number.
right.
Let me give you my real number. But getting back to your point, so once they know they can trust me, so there's that old saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Once they know that and I'm in, I'll say, listen, one of the big reasons why we love when the men come in is that we love to be able to provide information for you, the same information that she's receiving. And John, I've traveled the world in mission trips all over the world, and I've recognized that everyone wants two things in life. And I share this openly that they want to know that they're loved, they want to know that they're cared for, but they also want to know the truth. And they come, not knowing that that's what they were coming for. They came to support her, but they leave hearing the truth, seeing the truth, and it changes everything. Aside from me loving on them and them feeling love, the truth comes when I share with them that you actually have choice. And I know right now it might seem like you only have one, but you actually have some choices. And we start to talk about their support system, which opens up that door to, man, maybe we can do this. And then we talk about those things. But one of the important things that we do is we give them pamphlets, parenting, adoption, and abortion. And the abortion pamphlet is the facts, the truth about each of these steps in abortion, and we allow them to go through that and see that. And I said, I'll say to them that you can Google this stuff, but you're really not sure if you're getting the truth. What we have done was we've gone to the doctors local and we've asked them to give us their information. And it's documented on the back of our pamphlet where we got the information. It's not our information, it's theirs. And I said, so I'd really want you to at least look at this. And they'll look and I'll leave to go check on the girl. When I come back and they're reading the pamphlet multiple times, they'll say, well, she's not doing this. And they'll hold up the abortion pamphlet and he'll
Wow.
say, well, she's not doing this. I don't think she realizes all these side effects. I don't think she was told it's as easy as taking a Tylenol pill. She's thinking this stuff's easy. And I said, well, listen, just, she's going to probably be offered that pamphlet as well. We offer it to them. She might not take it, but this is where you can talk with her. And I encourage them to pause, work through the situations together. So, yeah, sharing those same medically accurate information with him is so important to us.
Can you tell us what the Courageous Dads program is really all about? Because I know, we're talking about like the first visit to the center, but you have guys that have come back for months, for years. And I know that you have quite a gathering. Is it once a week where you have the guys come over, or the couples come together? It's a pretty big group that you have, right?
Yeah,
Tell us.
the education part of it is just off the charts. And so we've incorporated, when I first came, I really thought that's what I was getting into was, how do we help these dads now become good dads? Quick questions that like I want them to always be thinking about is when the mom is pregnant, every time she talks, the baby hears her voice. Does the baby hear your voice? Are you around? When the baby's born, will the baby know your voice? And then really quick, right behind it is it a good voice? Is it a voice that that baby's loving? Do you talk to the baby? Do you sing to the baby? Do you read to the baby? These are things I've always thought about. And when I came, that's what we put together. We use Bright Course video series, and we're helping them be present and being active and learning to be good dads. The basics of the baby's cries and the whole we bring in the Red Cross for infant CPR. We added layers to it, but the biggest thing I came and I thought I was doing is, aside from the medical part of it, was helping them be good dads. And then I realized a third of these guys are borderline homeless. A third of these guys have been in and out of prison. If they just show up every once in a while, that's a win for them. And so they were realizing, like, how am I going to do this? Because everything you're teaching me in these classes, I want, but I got to work. I got to find the job. I got prison stuff. Like I got background. I'm not cut out for this. And so we started to work then on them personally as a person, not just the dad and learning how to be a good dad, but our pizza night, men's night packs the house and they come and they want to learn about themselves. They're learning to be better people, not just a good father. And the one question that I combine with that is, let me put it this way. Let's fast forward your child now, your girl, your baby girl now is in first grade and you're there at the parent teacher conference because I know you'll be there and that just feels good to them. Like now we're talking like I'm actually sitting down. People wouldn't even give me the time of day. And now I'm in first grade parent teacher conference and the teacher asks, or no, I ask these guys, what do you hope the teacher says about your daughter? And they just take a step back and they're like, wow, I hope she's respectful. I hope she has manners. I hope she treats everyone with respect, dignity, nothing about grades, all about who the person she's becoming. And so this is so important that they realize that what they're doing now changes all that. Yes, please, thank you, and you're welcome go a long way. And these men, when they text me, yes, please, thank you. Yes, please, thank you. It's changing the culture, right? That will change generations. And with that, that's pizza night. And this was huge. Men's night, we're still doing the Courageous Dads, the video series, the second and fourth Thursdays, pizza nights, the third Thursdays. Well, I had guys showing up on the first Thursday and there was nothing scheduled. And so I would meet with them, but I'm like, well, maybe I need to plug in a first of the third. And what I realized was there's two people in the story, two adults in the story, and the mother of the baby was important. As much as they were learning about that, what I do premarital counseling, marriage counseling. We brought in my premarital counseling class. They don't realize that's what it is. I tell some of them that, but we call it a relationship class. So on the first Thursday of the month, both of them come in together and they learn how to love on each other and take care of each other. We talk often about there's 9 billion people in the world, and yet you're making her the one. And so choosing to make her the one is important. And your child needs to hear that and see that. So we do love languages, personality styles, conflict resolution. We talk things about pillow talk. Like I love saying, like on a scale of 1 to 10, this is the first question I ask in counseling. Anyway, on a scale of 1 to 10, John, not using 7, because that's too easy. You can think about your wife. On a scale of 1 to 10, not using 7, how would you rate your relationship right now? And they're in there sitting side by side and they're giggling. It's like date night. The guy will say, wow, if I can't use 7, we have to be 8. We have to be 8. And I'm all right. I'm good with that. The girl's looking at him like, 8. If I can't use 7, it's like 6 or 5. And I'll say, hold on a second, hold on before you start fighting. This is what the guy's thinking. If I can't use 7, he's like, the bills are getting paid. There's food on the table. We have a roof over our head. We're doing pretty good. And if I can't use 7, it's an 8. 6 is a D in school, right? He knows they're better than that. There's food on the table, the bills are getting paid, and there's a roof over their head. She says, in her mind, when's the last time he told me he loved me? When's the last time he held my hand? When's the last time we went out on a date? This is a 6. And so I
Right.
get them to understand that they're both right. You know, the number itself isn't necessarily important as much as recognizing she has needs, he has needs, and then working them out. And we talk about that. So
Well,
the
Mike is
relationship class, John, has just it's our biggest class at A Woman's Concern. Out of all of our group classes that we do, the relationship class every week, it's tomorrow night, and we'll have over 20 people there. Over 10 couples will be showing up for date night where they get to learn how to love on each other.
yeah, the
Hey,
question I was
Mike.
gonna ask is where
One sec,
I'm
John.
sorry, go ahead, Jacob.
Really quick question. So, Mike, I have not marriage counseling in the pregnancy clinic. That's a really. Can you? Is there break course classes that go along with that marriage counseling piece?
There is you have to sift through them. You have to find what I've
Okay,
found. You know, it's there is good ones. I'm not. Yeah, definitely. So to just to
that's
put
a
that out
really
there.
good idea. I've not. I don't know if that's an. I don't have a poll to know how many pregnancy clinics bring in marriage counseling, but what a really good idea. Like that's just. I mean that
Jacob,
needs to be echoed.
yeah, so, I mean, I'm not one I love that John asked because I told him, like, I have so much to share. Like, this is tip of the iceberg stuff, but I've done a wedding, a couple that came in let me just tell you this story. You want a love story? This girl came in, she's on medication, pregnant, met this guy at and both have kids from previous relationships, and they're fighting. It's bad, toxic. She has a restraining order against him. She realizes into it a little bit. It was because she was off her meds and she was a little bit off. Anyway, she finds out there's a fatherhood program and she says this would be good for him. Kept the restraining order. He starts coming to the fatherhood program. Because she's thinking, if we're going to co-parent, I want him to at least learn some of this. Well, they start coming, then they realize there's a relationship class, and they both were open to it. So she removes the restraining order. They come to their first relationship class, and you could see it. She's just pointing at him, letting him know, like, are you listening? Are you listening? And I could just see that it was like a battle. And I knew the background. By the third, maybe fourth month, she's laying her head on his shoulder. They're talking through these things. They're very vocal in the class about the questions. In time, 9 months goes by, baby's born. They're working out their relationship. Baby's born on a Tuesday. I think they left the hospital that Thursday and came to the relationship class before they even went home. I wouldn't recommend that. I'm just saying they came to the relationship class because they said, this is our family. This is where we're at today because of this place here. And so they kept coming. I do a Father's Day training. And my Father's Day is always reminding them why they're here. And we go through a lot of good questions, and it's open pizza night and such with gifts. We give him Father's Day gift, but goals. And his goals was over the next year that she would go back and get her GED, that they would get married and find a new place to live. Well, a month later, 3 months later, she was already going for her GED, but graduated. She texted me. No, Thursday she graduated from her class. She got her GED because I knew she was going in for it. That Saturday, she texted me and said, I have a texting. I could share that later, but they heavily on follow up with these guys. We're talking, communicating. And she texted me and said, hey, Mike, he proposed. And she sent me a picture of the ring and he proposed. He said if she graduates, he's holding that over her head. She wants her to get her GED. He proposed. Well, I met with him for 8 months after that, premarital counseling, and did their wedding. And in the wedding was couples from our program. And then sitting in the seats at the wedding was couples from our program, not just in the wedding party. The couple's still together. They have since had another child together, and they're now actively involved in a local church helping with VBS. It's a story that like reminds me the full picture of why we're here. It's from that entry level marketing to the man, to bringing him into understanding his part, to choosing life, to having the baby, learning to be a good dad, learning to get a good job and helping him with that, to now
Right.
taking care of the family.
Okay. So before our time ends, I just want to ask you just one or two more things I think would be very helpful. So if you're a small pregnancy center, or it doesn't even matter the size, if you're a pregnancy center that wants to start a program like the one that you have, or restart a program like the one that you have, what would be some suggestions for them? Like what type of person are we looking for? So I know the pregnancy
Okay.
center that I oversaw, we really struggled finding the right person to lead that program.
Yeah.
And my
So
own my own experience is it seems like the one who's leading the program just comes from a different neighborhood than the client who's coming into the pregnancy center.
yeah.
So
So go ahead. Sorry, John.
no, that's it. I think you
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's interesting because I can speak for myself. Just that I've been a pastor, a youth pastor, and a pastor for over 25 years, and I was one though prior to coming to Christ. I wasn't just a non-believer. I was lost. I was confused. I was hurting. I went through divorce. My mom was married 3 times. She's amazing. With the same guy now for 40 years, but I lived through this. We bounced around. I lived in the projects of Pittsburgh. I was poor. We were very poor. I got into drugs. I got into craziness. Never sent to prison. But all this to say, I was lost. And when I became a believer, I recognized grace. I truly understood grace, that this is something I do not deserve. In fact, I live knowing that I have received everything already in Christ. And so for me, the mindset has changed. It's how I've coaching wrestling, recruiting the kids that were like me, allowing them to know, hey, I heard John often, this is why your mom left you. Like, we were living with our grandma. This is why this is why every time I got in trouble, like, reminded me of how bad I was, right? Reminded me that this is why your mom left you. When I was a little bit older and the second divorce happened, both my brothers left to stepdads, and grandma left. So people in my life were walking out on me. These men experienced that. Their whole life, they feel like people have walked out on them. When I created the mentor program, I made sure that these mentorees, the number one thing is that they don't walk out on these kids. They're going to show up at the appointments, because it's important that these kids, these men, start to realize we're not walking out on you. Taking it even further to say, not only are we not walking out on you, we created a whole program for you. This is what we've done. And so finding a person that maybe has walked in their shoes, finding a person that truly does understand grace and understand all that they've been forgiven of, finding a person that, even if you grew up in the church with Christ walking, to at least understand what they're going through, to be able to ask questions. There's no greater thing than to ask questions. There's a saying from a TV show that I grabbed onto. It's called, "Be curious, not judgmental." I want you to hear that again. Be curious, not judgmental. Here's this guy. He already feels like he's an awful person. He already knows his story. He already knows he's a nobody. He already knows he doesn't matter. He's been told that his whole life. How about you be the one just to ask questions? Like, where he's been, what he's been through, where he's going. Really invest in him, and it flips it. So then everything starts to change, because he realizes you're proud of him. He's important. So, John, real fast, it's finding someone that I want to be hesitant, and I'm not saying you need to find someone that grew up on the other side of the tracks. It could be someone that grew up in the church, but we got to be curious, not judgmental.
Very good. Very good. So I'm sure after this podcast is viewed, that a lot of people are going to have questions, and a lot of people are going to want to know more about your program, because, like you said yourself, we've only touched the tip of the iceberg. And I know your program goes very deep. So how can people get a hold of you if they have questions?
Yeah, it's again, John. I like thank you for that. This is my point that I try to drive home, is that the father is not a side conversation in an unexpected pregnancy. He's part of the story. That's what I keep sharing. He's part of the story. Let's bring him in. They can get a hold of me on our websites. Everywhere it has my number. I'd be willing to, if anyone. Do you want me to give, like, my
What is your website? What's your website? What's the
Courage Starts Here, couragestartshere.com. And that's our outreach one. My number's on there. Also, we have, it's called Fatherhood Lancaster. All one word, fatherhoodlancaster.com. And I'd be love to talk to people. I love doing this. My whole life has been changed by these men.
Okay.
So
Jacob, do you have any final follow-up questions for
No, this
Mike?
is yeah, I'm so glad you're on here, Mike, and you're just highlighting such an important piece, such an important puzzle piece for this, for complete care, and your talk about this relationship class is just so spot on for needing to be shared and talked about and considered as people as pregnancy clinic leadership is hearing this, and different pro-life leaders, bringing the importance of the father is really can't be underestimated. It's such an important part of the decision and what's going on in a pregnancy that's not expected.
yeah. Yeah. Just let me, Jacob, can I touch on this quick? Years back when I came, we actually went upstream too, and we put a youth program together, getting into the public schools, private schools, and teaching them about relationship education. And it was teaching about their goals. And let's focus on your goals. There's a time for sex, but is that really where you want to be right now when you got all these goals? And it's a whole curriculum.
That's how Mike and I actually met each other years back. My pregnancy center was the recipient of a grant, and we partnered with several others to launch these school programs. That's when a woman's concern did that, and Mike came along and helped get into the schools, that
Yeah, and
program.
so sorry, John, but that curriculum it's relationship health. It has the love languages. It has personality styles. So to get back to your question, Jacob, about Bright Course, this curriculum, I've adapted it into my premarital counseling stuff. So if you want curriculum, if someone's saying, "Boy, Mike has this background, we can't all find a guy like that," there is curriculum out there that you can put together monthly relationship classes right out of the curriculum. And so that's available. And I can touch on, if anyone contacts me, I can touch on any of that. I'm a pretty open book with it. It's, for me, it's I would say it this way, like you do not need a perfect program. You need to just intentionally engage fathers and everything will change.
Awesome.
Yeah, you guys are great.
Yeah. Well, this has been great. Any final words, John or Mike, before we wrap things up?
Just my tagline
No.
is the father is not a side conversation. He's part of the story.
Yep. Amen.
Awesome. Well, Mike, would you wrap up our podcast with a prayer? And then with those who are listening, we can all join in as you
Perfect.
pray.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Father God, we thank you for today. Wow. Wherever we're at, the weather that you provide is exactly what we need. We thank you for that. We thank you for caring about our everyday life. We thank you for the way that you chose to love us, that when we know we are loved, we can love others. And so thank you for these two men that love you, that care about men and women and families. Father, we know that when we invest in the man, when we invest in the father, everything changes. And so we thank you for paving the road for us, allowing us to know that our handshake with these men is to love them, is to love on them. The way that you treated the prostitute, the woman at the well, the blind man, the leper, your handshake was, "I'm here for you. How can I help you?" And so thank you for leading us. Thank you for these pregnancy centers that are boldly stepping out for you to reach these families. And we just pray abundance of grace for them as they reach out. But also we love to see that fruit, Father. And so we give you all the glory. We thank you for this day. We love you and pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
No, he's not here, so we're just gonna kick it. Brothers and sisters, I urge brothers and sisters, I urge brothers and sisters, into God's many mercies, offer your minds and your bodies, offer your minds and your bodies, offer your minds and your bodies, your lives, your actions for service, this is reasonable, this is thankful, this is spiritual. This is worship. I urge you, brothers and sisters, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's many mercies, offer your minds and your bodies, offer your minds and your bodies, offer your minds and your bodies, your lives, your actions,